Hi everybody, let's talk about entity on OnSavingRow. Let's imagine the following use case. We have a customers table, and in that customer table we have these two columns, last change date and last change time. And we want to document whenever this table is changed, and we want to update it here. Okay, so let's have a look at our code. What I want to happen is that if I'll go to the customers table and I'll make a change, I want these columns to be updated. Now, in the migrated code, and the way you would normally write this code, you would go over to the show customers controller, and in the OnSavingRow, you will add some lines saying, well, customers.last change date is equal to date now, and customers.last change time is equal to time now. We also need to make sure that we've added them to the columns collection, so we'll go ahead here and add them. Date and let's change time. Perfect. Let's run this and see if it works. I'll change this to 1 and we'll have a look, and we can see that the last change was saved. Now, the problem with this approach is that we literally have to do it in each and every controller that might change the customer's entity. And that's a lot. We could have batches and import processes and all sorts of things. So if you were using an SQL database, you would probably try to use a trigger for this, but that has all sorts of disadvantages, like not being able to use application logic, etc. So why not do something different? Let's just demonstrate the problem just to make sure that it's clear. If I'll go over to the entity list and I'll make a change over here, okay, I'm gonna go and change this row. I'm gonna go to modify records and change this. The value was not set. Okay, that's because we only handle the OnSavingRow of the show customers controller and not everywhere else. So why don't we move this logic from the specific controller to the entity? Well, from now you can. Let me show you how you do that. We can go to the customer's entity and we'll say here override OnSavingRow. This OnSavingRow event will be called whenever this entity is about to be saved. We receive an argument of activity, which can be anything from delete, insert, or update. In this case we need update, but we don't really care, so we can remove this. And I'll say over here, last change date is date now, and last change time is time now. Let's run this again and remove, of course, this code from show customers. We don't need it here anymore. Let's run this, and now if we view the customers, we'll change from here. Let's change the third one. And let's change in the table repository the fourth one. And we see that in all of these cases, the date and time was updated. So this enables you to handle change, delete, or insert in the entity itself and handle it there. This replaces database triggers in many scenarios, and this is also available for all databases. You can put all sorts of logic here. You can use it to maintain last change date and time. You can insert into a log table. You can document in a log file, or you can use it in debugging when you want to find out who the hell is changing something. You could put a breakpoint here and handle it. So this is extremely cool, and I think this allows you to refactor logic, even validation logic, from all your specific controllers to the entity. Now, just one more thing I would like to add to it. In the show customers table, not only did we add our the update in the OnSavingRow, we also added these two columns to the columns array, and that can be annoying. Once you have a last change date and last change time, I really need them in each and every controller. So to add columns to every controller that uses the customer's entity, there's a new override method called getMandatoryColumns. And I'll return here a new array that includes the last change date and the last change time. And this actually means, yeah, I should say here, column base array. And what this actually means is that even if I didn't select the last change date and last change time in the specific controller, it will be automatically added. Okay, so when I make a change, it will work and not give me an error that they are not included in the test. Let me just again demonstrate the difference. If I'll comment this line out, if I'll comment this, and make a change, we would get an error saying, well, this column is not, you can see it in your code, I'm too much debug information here, but the column doesn't exist in the table. Okay, that we were trying to access a column that doesn't exist in the specific controller. Okay, column last change date from entity customer was not added to any controller. Did you forget columns add? So we need to make sure that it's added to the controller, and now we can do that in the entity level, saying, well, whenever we use the customer's entity, make sure that the last change date and last change time columns are included. And our logic would now work. Perfect. So just a quick recap. Let's review the changes that we've done. Only to the customer's entity, we've added two methods. We've added the OnSavingRow that happens whenever this row is about to be saved. And here we've updated the last change date and last change time. And that means that in any controller that will change this table, these values will get updated. And this means get mandatory columns means that in any controller that uses this entity, these columns are going to be automatically added. I hope you'll find this useful.